I got to thinking about perseverance, not success, but perseverance. Those aren't the same thing because perseverance happens before success ever shows up. Perseverance is what keeps you moving when success hasn't arrived yet. And I've been thinking about that phrase for years now. One of my favorite old movies growing up was The Outlaw Josie Wales. There's an old Cherokee character in the film. His name is Lone Wati. And at one point, he talks about his people endeavoring to persevere. Man, that line has lodged itself somewhere deep in my brain. The idea of endeavoring to persevere. It's not really thriving or dominating. It's definitely not winning every battle. It's just simply refusing to quit. And honestly, that might describe the most worthwhile things in life. I think about marriage, fatherhood, faith, craftsmanship, ministry, recovery, healing. The idea of endeavoring to persevere is mingled into all of that. I mean, if you want to think big picture, that's civilization. If you really want to think about it, every road ever built, every cathedral, every farm, every house, every church, every family lineage that survived war, famine, grief, long enough to hand life to the next generation. Human history is the story of people refusing to lay down and die. And maybe that sounds a bit dramatic while I'm standing there cutting cedar with a chainsaw outside behind my truck, but I don't think it is. Because the instinct to build and to shape and to create, that's part of human nature. I've talked about this before. The first pages of Scripture introduce us to a God who creates, not a God who merely exists. A God who forms, who shapes, who speaks order into chaos. And then in Genesis, humanity is made in his image. It means the desire to make things is not accidental. The desire to cultivate, to improve, to solve, to carve beauty from disorder. That is inheritance. It's a gift that God has given us. You know, I remember years ago when my kids were still little and money was a lot tighter than it is now. I was still pretty new in ministry back then, and well, we really didn't have any extra money for vacations or amusement parks or anything fancy like that. So when we found free things to do, we took advantage of them. There was some kind of a lumberjack festival or expo or something along those lines, not too far from us. Honestly, I don't remember what it was called. I just remember loading everybody up because the admission was free. And for a young family trying to stretch every dollar, free was a beautiful word. They had all kinds of competitions there. I think axe throwing and log rolling and all those crazy things. The smell of fresh cut pine and diesel fuel mixed together with kettle corn was, well, it was heavenly. Somewhere in the middle of all that noise was a chainsaw carving competition. You know, I can still picture it in my mind. The guy walked up carrying what looked like nothing more than a chunk of firewood, just a block of wood, rough cut, ordinary. The kind of thing most people would just throw beside a fire pit and burn it without a second thought. And then he started cutting. Wood chips started flying everywhere, while my kids stood there watching with wide eyes and expectation. And little by little, shapes started to emerge from this chunk of wood. Not all at once. It wasn't magical. But it was slow. It was intentional. There was a level of confidence in the man's cuts. And by the end of it, that man had carved a tiny wooden chair, small enough to fit in the palm of my hand. He gave it to us. I still have it today. As a matter of fact, every now and then I'll pick it up and look at it and still wonder how in the world somebody develops that kind of skill. Because, well, it wasn't luck. That was years of patience, years of mistake, years of ruined pieces and dull chains, learning where to cut and where not to cut. Honestly, it amazed me then, and it still amazes me now.